TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Patrick Murtagh, and as I'm looking at myself in the camera, like any self-respecting tenor would, I'm noticing you, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see a notable difference when I am doing an interview not having worked the night before versus having closed down the bar and doing an interview. I'm like, my skin looks. I'm gonna compliment myself. I don't look like death warmed over. And you may have also noticed I got a little bit of a haircut. My coworkers, were like, "Oh, we love your haircut. It looks so great, but we love your crazy hair. Why'd you cut it?" I'm like, "Well, you called it my crazy hair. Like I look like Robin Williams at the beginning of Jumanji. Like that's." That's not cute at almost 42. That looks like, I might have a problem I need to deal with. So I finally chopped the locks. Having curly hair is an issue because my curls, when they know, a haircut is coming, oh baby, you better believe they are nice and tight and little ringlets and lovely. And it's like, it's too late. You had 6 weeks to behave. You had 6 weeks, which is not true because I am not that good to where I get a haircut every 6 weeks. You had 3 months to behave. Yeah, it's embarrassing. I sometimes go 3 months between haircuts. But yeah, I'm liking the way I look refreshed. Is that okay for me to say that about myself? I like the way that I look refreshed. I like presenting refreshed to you. I also see the benefits of the accuracy and living through you live when I'm like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm interviewing someone on the East Coast and I've just walked in from closing the bar. Like, I think there's something, there's value there as well. But today I'm loving feeling refreshed. I'm loving not all the things, a lot of the things that are going on in my life. And I thought I would share that with you. This is not part of of what I had planned for our pre-shift here. But as I was talking to today's guest on entering the room, we're just talking about just you get two musical theater actors in a room together, and it's like, oh man, it's crazy. That we talk about having to find time for ourselves and how it's busy, and then we were talking about how then we're saying busy's great because we've been trained to be busy, and if we're not busy, what are we doing? There's a class we can take, there's an audition we can go to. That we rarely allow the time for us to have some relaxation and restorative recuperation. We're always on the go, and if there's an opening, we take it, which I'm not going to make that joke. And I was talking about how I'm busy. I'm busy right now. This podcast is playing out in real life. I'm at a restaurant that the commitment and the effort is not necessarily matching the compensation, and that's difficult. That's rough. But I'm in a place where, humble brag, I just booked a show out here in LA. It's a small little theater contract. It's a 99 seat theater contract, which is wonderful. It gives me the opportunity to perform, but it's also, working for pennies. So I call it a 99-cent contract. And I'm used to that in New York, rehearsing for a month, 2 months for a $25 stipend, a $200 stipend, a reimbursement of your metro fare. So they count how many times you get on the subway and they times that by 2. And for every time you were called to rehearsal, for every performance, you get that back. And that's technically off. I did a show that was off Broadway that was nominated for awards. And I got paid $138 for that 2 months of my life. So it hits the pocketbook. And I was saying, I'm in this job I don't like, and I have this show that I'm really excited to be doing and to have on my resume, but financially, it's a bit cumbersome, and I'm not sure what to do, and I can't look for a job while I'm rehearsing this show because I need my job to supplement this show. And then after that, I have my Christmas show in December in San Francisco, unless I book a national tour. Sorry, San Francisco. But there's just all these steps, and how in New York, my rhythm has always been you only get a new job in the spring. That's the only time once audition season is over, because if I get a job and it sucks and I try to change it before, the fall, and then the fall comes and I have to find a way to get enough seniority to be off for 2 weeks at Christmas to go to do my Christmas show and then come back, I may not have a job. And January is super slow, but at least it's something. And trying to look for a job in January while also doing audition season in New York, it's absolutely freaking nuts. And so it's just like you have to wait till almost the end of audition season, which in New York is January to April, May, sometimes June, before you can hop into another restaurant and pray to the gods of whatever, Liza Minnelli, Judi Dench, whoever you pray to, that it's beneficial, that it doesn't suck the life out of you, that it allows you to perform, that it's flexible, that it's just everything you wish it could be for exactly what it is, right? That's what this stereotype is. That's what this life is, and that's why we have this podcast. None of this is anything I was going to talk about, and that's okay because it's off the cuff. It's live, just like this conversation with our guest today will be. I It's off the cuff, but I've prepared. I've ironed the cuff. All right. The cuff is ironed. It is ready to go. So there's at least structure should being off the cuff lead to nowhere. But before we get to today's guest, I want to talk about, I opened Instagram this morning because, when I'm trying to be productive, it's always like, I'm making notes and then I click on Instagram and then half hour later, I'm like, oh shit, I have to restart the internet. And I came across The Bitchy Waiter, who, if you don't follow, please, it is free therapy. That account is free therapy if you've ever worked in hospitality. The memes, the reels, everything that Darren, the Bitchy Waiter, puts up just speaks to my soul and to so many people I know. And follow the Bitchy Waiter for phenomenal content. And also, Darren wrote a movie called We're So Dead, which is a horror movie about working in a restaurant. And the horror is not working in a restaurant alone. It is a horror movie that takes place in a shift. And I just love the name because, like, we're so dead, like, nobody's coming in. But this is like, we're so dead because there's a killer in the restaurant and we have to get out alive, which is how, shifts just feel in general, even when there's not a serial killer on the loose. But make sure to see The Bitchuator, keep up for the posts. Go to thebitchuator.com. They're doing a series of screenings across the United States before they go straight to streaming. I'm going to be seeing it later in September, I think, in Pasadena. I'll check the dates. You check the dates. But The Bitchuator, Darren, who I hope to have on the show one day, shared a picture of a receipt, which is I just fucking hate this shit when this happens. I hate it. The customer got through the meal, did their thing, and didn't say anything while eating, and instead started the note at the top of the receipt, tell the chef, and then went on to write a goddamn essay on the front of the receipt to the bottom, then put turn over and drew an arrow to indicate turn the receipt over for the rest of the story, and got a burger that was undercooked. Got a burger that was undercooked and went through their entire meal unhappy and didn't say anything, didn't ask for it to be remade, didn't alert anyone of the problem, and waited till they paid to then make it the waiter's problem, who would have fixed it had they known. Now, they make a few valid points. I don't enjoy paying for something that I didn't eat or something that was not to my liking. Yeah, that makes sense. You work hard. You're allowed to get what you pay for, whether it's in a restaurant, whether it's at a department store, whether it's at an ice cream shop, a grocery store, whatever. You're not going to get the bruised bananas. Of course, you're paying your hard-earned money. You should get what you want. That's one point. The next point was the waiter didn't say anything about the half-eaten burger on my plate and should have asked me if everything was okay. Yeah, yeah, that's really good form. Part of our job is anticipating your needs, being observant, going out of our way to make sure you don't have to say something's wrong. We're going to observe, we're going to anticipate, and we're going to say, hey, how can I fix that for you? Yes, that's how it should have been. But the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, that's all. Shoulda is subjective. You, like I've said many times on this podcast, you are as responsible for your experience as I am. Because yes, the restaurant should make the burger exactly how you order it. The waiter should have checked in and said, hey, I notice you're not eating that. But you don't know what's going on because the restaurant, again, like I've said many times in this podcast, is a shared experience, much like life. It is a shared experience. We are all in this together. There are many plates spinning. There are many people. You don't know if your waiter had a table that had a shellfish allergy, a nut allergy, a gluten allergy, a soy allergy, a dairy allergy, an allium allergy, and trying to figure out what they can do. You don't know if a table was choking on a underchewed piece of steak and your waiter was saving their life. The streaming tickets just pouring into that kitchen, and the kitchen trying. Things go wrong. Things go wrong and balls get dropped. And I'm sure it happens in your industry. I'm sure there's times where you've dropped the ball at work and you have been so appreciative to the grace that your coworkers and your boss showed you, right? Right? You don't walk on water. I don't walk on water. I'm buoyant, but I do not walk on water. So let's go there, right? Let's go there and take some responsibility. Yes, everything you're saying is true, but you also had at 45 minutes to correct this. You had all the opportunity in your world to stop somebody and be like, "Hey, do you mind sending my waiter over? Do you mind sending the manager over?" It's okay to complain when it's something to complain about. It's your job. You sat there in your pity and your victimhood and felt that you didn't have a voice and you couldn't correct this. You couldn't get what you needed. You need to advocate for yourself. And I think this is a lesson we need more as a society, whether it's in a restaurant, whether it's at work, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's in your relationship. You need to advocate for yourself because as someone should care for you, as much as somebody should think of you, as much as somebody should check in on you, you can't guarantee that, right? Because people have things going on and there are things beyond you. Not saying that you're not important, but you should advocate for yourself to get what you need. And then when somebody advocates on your behalf, that's a gift. But you have to be willing to advocate for yourself and say what you need and not be passive aggressive and not even if you didn't go out of your way to get this fixed when you had all the time to get it fixed, you didn't need to make it the waiter's fault. You didn't need to punish the waiter for the undercooked burger. You could have paid your bill, done whatever, and on the way out, just stop, find a manager, tell the hostess, be like, hey, you know what? The waiter was great. Maybe they could have checked in on me more, but overall, they were great. This is what happened. And it's not the waiter's fault. It's not, it just, and I understand these things happen. And, maybe they'll give you a gift card. Maybe they'll give the restaurant an opportunity to react, to respond, to fix it at the table before you leave the door. Because if not, when you leave and you haven't addressed an issue, it's just going to fester. And then you're going to run to Yelp and make a review. And then the restaurant's going to have to, advocate for yourself, people. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. You're working hard. You're earning your money. You should be able to have the burger you paid for. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. You should have advocated for yourself. That's my 2 cents on it. That is nothing that I was going to talk about in today's Tough Shift. But advocate for yourself, people. Advocate for yourself. And here, today's guest is someone who not only advocates for themselves, but advocates for actors all over the country, is a multi-talented and multi-hyphenated individual with so many hats that they wear and so many plates that they spin, and has made quite a name for themselves in the New York City theater scene, and really across the nation in the theater scene, contributing to Broadway World with their writings for over a handful of years. Also, while contributing for Broadway World, had an interview series called Day of the Show, y'all. Another reference to that movie that I still don't recall having seen, but I know the references. And the 10-minute Tidbits, where he has interviewed the likes of Shirley Ralph, Gray Henson, who I also spoke on here one time that I went out to brunch with a friend in Hamilton Heights, and we had too good of a time. And I was leaving. I dropped her off at her apartment, and I was walking home. Lived 20 blocks away, and I'm full of rosé. I'm like, I'm gonna walk it off, and I run into Gray Henson and drunkenly tell him how amazing he is. So my interview experience might be different than today's guest. Ava Noblezada, Laura Bell Bundy, to name a few. And the writings he does for Broadway World has both has advice for both working and aspiring actors on how to navigate this industry with a business mindset and an artist's heart. On stage, he's appeared off Broadway at New York City Center. He's performed at the John Engelman Theater, the Goodspeed Opera House, national tours, Bay Street Theater, many, 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 many New York City workshops for brand new musicals, which is, like I've talked about, the merit badges you get in New York that you don't expect. When you graduate, you're like, I'm going to do here. He did Goodspeed Opera. He did New York City Center. But then the reward of working on new musicals that nobody has ever seen, nobody has ever sung, working with your heroes, these merit badges, and he has a closet full of them. As a teacher, his students have appeared on Broadway, off-Broadway national tours, TV, regional theaters all over the country. And on top of that, he's 6'2" with piercing blue eyes, tall glass of water, and a tenor voice that just does not quit. Please welcome to the show the incomparable Spencer Glass.
Oh my God, that was like the nicest. That was the nicest things I've ever heard about me. Thank you so much, Sean.
Find the lie. I want you to find the lie in anything I said. Welcome to the show. I love singing my guest praises. I say this every week. These are things we know about ourselves, but it's good to have them said back to us as a way
Mm.
that to remind us, yeah, you're doing it. So keep doing it. So keep doing it. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
Oof. I am feeling, oh God, so alive now. Thank you. I'm actually feeling good. I know that we were talking about just like the busyness of
Yeah.
life before we started filming, and you're so right that we have accomplishments and like we're sometimes cool and we never zoom in on ourselves. We're like
Yeah.
like we never, and so it is really nice reminders. So thanks.
Of course, of course. Now, I know that you have many experience as working in hospitality. I actually remember one time, it was like right before the pandemic, I was looking for a new job. And we don't really know each other personally. Like like we know each other from the world of auditions. A
Yep.
lot of our just acknowledging looks across, a crazy holding room where the crazy things happen, which a lot of crazy things happen in holding rooms that people don't talk about. Like before the pandemic, there was so many stories that happened at Pearl and Ripley and all these things, and just knowing each other, respecting the hell out of you, from listening to you on the other side, from seeing from mutual friends all the bookings, all of this. And thank goodness for social media to keep us connected and to cheer each other on, even though we really just know each other through Ripley Greer and Pearl Studios. But there was one moment where I was auditioning, interviewing for a new restaurant job, and it was at this place in the Time Warner Center, which is now God knows what it is, the Spectrum Center. Who it's always changing hands. And I was interviewing, and in walks this familiar face, looks at me, shoots me one of these, like, "Hey, I know you. Good to see you." Before you walk into your job, and that was just like one of those things where it's like it was super cool. And then I didn't get the job, which is totally fine because it was literally like 3 weeks before the lockdown, and this place did not have outdoor patio, so I would have been screwed. Do you know where I'm talking about?
Okay, Time Warner Center in Columbus Circle.
Yeah.
Okay, what's so funny is that this definitely happened, but I was only in the Time Warner Center and any kind of restaurant bar thing trying to get a job in one of those restaurants. And
I thought you worked there.
nope, never ever got it. I was totally there to interview, never heard back. And then I ended up getting one of my favorite restaurant jobs 3 weeks before the pandemic.
I am so glad to have not gotten that job because the job that I ended up leaving 2 years later had nothing but patio space. And so we went from like, I made more money in the pandemic than we did. Like our checks were bouncing before the pandemic, and then our checks were padded after the pandemic. And we had 17 tables. And that's why when people make complaints about like wearing masks, I'm like, I'm waiting tables in masks in 85-degree weather with New York City humidity. Like, this is crazy. But enough about me. I want to get to you and this show. I want to know, with all the experience you had, what was your gateway job into this industry that made you the stereotypical actor, waiter, surviving the job to live the dream?
Wow. I don't even know where to start. I think I've done everything. People say that, but I think I've kind of done everything. Gateway meaning like what was the first one that I had?
Yeah,
Yeah. The
that's just
first,
brought you in.
yep, the first job I ever had in New York was, and this was a job that I will never ever forget. I babysat for a family, and when I just say I found them on like care.com or something like that. They had three apartments in New York and they had two country homes. This is important. This is important. They could not go over 15 an hour. They just couldn't afford it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it was three kids. Three kids, okay? Number three, I had to I had to take one of the kids to soccer on a 45-minute subway ride. So take them to soccer. Soccer ended at 7 p.m. and the parents wanted the kid home by 7:15 for a 7:30 bedtime. But it was a 50-minute subway ride and they wouldn't let us Uber. They wouldn't let us take a car, but they had a driver. Are we following so far? Okay.
Oh,
Yep, they had a driver, but I was not allowed to use the driver. Okay. My last day of work was I came home and they said, "You're late again. What train are you taking?" I said, "Well, there's only one train that actually goes down to Houston and then back all the way up to where you guys are in Upper Manhattan." And they said, "Oh," they whip out a map from the 1970s, a subway map, and they said, "You need to take the 9 train."
I was about to say that if they say the fucking nine train, I'm gonna scream.
And I said, "The 9 train doesn't exist." And they said, "You don't know enough about New York City and you
The
can no longer."
IRT is gone.
Yep. And they fired me. They fired me
I
because I said the 9 train doesn't exist. That was my gateway.
that is oh my God. I always wonder why people with the most money are the cheapest. Like these are your precious little children. There's three of them, and you can't afford more than $15. And just making it. I mean, I've worked for rich people in New York City. Not nanny families. My nanny families have always been pretty much middle class, really wonderful, very generous. But I've worked for rich people as a bookkeeper, and one in particular was just like so much money, but like what an asshole. And so I'm so glad that you don't have to deal with that anymore. It is just like this is your precious little child, and these are all like making it your fault, making it the lowest paid person's fault for why the sky is blue. Okay, cool, cool, cool.
They gave me right on, and they gave me this one rule from the start, and I should have known, but I was like 21, and I just wanted a job, whatever. They were like, "Just so you know, our kids never lie, and they will always tell you what they can and can't do. Trust that." And I was like, "Okay." And I took one of the kids to a birthday party, and I guess the kid had Sprite, and I got a phone call from the mom the next day screaming at me, and I was like, "He told me he could have Sprite." And she said, "We'll never fully believe kids." And so from there, I was very careful. And I've done a plethora of jobs, mostly restaurants, but I was very careful with which families I was going to take on
Yeah,
after that.
100% because you have to because like this is a choice, and I'm not choosing you because you are not worth it. Kind of like when you're auditioning, you're also auditioning the team. because we've
Mm.
all been and had some tough shifts with workshops we've done where it's like, ooh, ooh, the love for the theater is not enough to put up with some of the bullshit we've had to put up with. But in your hospitality life, in your restaurant life, is there a tough shift of all the shifts you've worked that seems to stand out among the rest?
Buckle up.
Okay.
I had a job at a very well-known restaurant in New York City. Um, whoa, I've not told this story in such a long time. Um, and they went through 2 weeks of, they basically are auditioning 20 new servers and then they cut people every 3 days. And it's a 2 week training process. And then if you make it towards the end of training, you're in and you're a server at this restaurant. And to be really honest with you, I was probably the weakest server out of everybody, but I think they thought I was like nice and funny, and so I
Mm.
made it. I made it. I made it. I made it. I made it. It was like me and like two other people. My first shift on, like me. Um, I get there. I got there early, and the owner of the restaurant says, "Where's Spencer?" And I say, "Oh, that's me." And they said, "Please follow me." And this is in like the restaurant where we're folding napkins. We're getting ready for the 3:30 meeting on the specials. You know what it is. I'm like, sure. They take me through a door, and I'm not kidding. They take me down in New York City, a spiral staircase that I can only say looked like the Beauty and the Beast castle. Like all of a sudden, I was in this like cobwebby cobblestone European spiral staircase, going down floors, like
Probably about to lose a finger. Like, Jesus Christ.
And I was like, what's going on? And took me into their office. And they said, um, there's a rumor going around that you're bad at opening bottles of wine. And I said, that rumor's true. I was like, yeah. I was like, I have not worked in a restaurant where I had to put the wine under my armpit and open it with one hand. I was like, I'm working on it, and I really was. And I explained like I've been doing it like 3 bottles a night at my apartment. Um, I'm really working on it, but it is something that I'm trying to grow in. And they said that's not going to cut it. So what we're going to do is you're going to follow me back upstairs, and you're going to open a bottle of wine in front of me, and I'm going to be a customer, and I'm going to pretend to be a customer who's very angry with you. And I said, okay. And so they brought me all the way down to tell me that. And then I followed them all the way up. I'm nervous, obviously. And this person also had like a wraparound porch, Southern, like Jessica Lange accent, um, and which made it all the more scarier.
Yeah.
So I go back upstairs, and this person gives me a bottle of wine, gives me a corkscrew, and I go to open it and I cut my entire finger open and I start bleeding. And she goes, finish the job. And I'm trying to open it and I can't do it. I'm bleeding. And she
It's like
goes,
American
don't,
Horror Story.
yep. She goes, don't cry. Don't cry. Let's go. I open the bottle of wine. I go into the back. The manager follows me. The manager is like, sorry, I just like, I didn't want to step in because she's the owner, but that was inappropriate, right? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I do my shift. And uh, that night I get fired. That was my first and only official shift at the restaurant. I do my shift, gushing blood, bandages down my finger onto my wrist. And 2 years later is the pandemic, and I get a text message in the pandemic. Hi, Spencer. We'd love for you to come back to our restaurant. We really valued you. We really valued you as a server. Please give me a call if you have a chance. So that was my tough shift.
I would rather get a 3 o'clock text messages from an ex than get that and go and relive that horrific experience. Like, one, fuck that person. Just like, it's not going to cut it. Be like, can you do it? Can you cut it? Because I've been doing this for 105 years. I still like, and also knock on wood because I have to work tonight. I still cut myself because, and not always my fault. I have a coworker who she's brand new at bartending and brand new at restaurants, and she's just kind of like the Tasmanian devil, and just like really not she's like the Tasmanian devil. And so I went to go get a bottle that she had opened, and I went to the cork had been put back in, and I went to go. It was like really shoved in there, and so I went to pull the cork out, but and then I started bleeding. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? I look, she had like done a shit job at removing the tinfoil. So she had just kind of like gotten enough. So it was like barbed wire around the top. Like, you have to cut below the lip. You have to get that out of the way. Because, and I was just like, and I just showed her my bleeding hand, and I was like, because everything is a teachable lesson. And my time as a nanny has only made that go even further. Where I was like, this is why we don't do this. And then she felt awful, which I kind of loved. But like, just so you know, this is how the lesson is going to be learned. You're going to see me bleeding, and you're going to know that like we don't chew the tinfoil off. I teased her about that. I'm like, you don't chew it. You gotta actually remove it. But opening bottles of wine suck. And my advice to people, like when they're like, a lot of people just are really nervous about it because of shit like this, is like, hey, just so you know, I've been doing this forever. It's never not awkward. So just open the damn bottle of wine. It's going to be awkward because also even if you're perfect at opening a bottle of wine, you're standing at a table and everyone's kind of waiting and nobody's really talking. It's awkward. Everything about opening a bottle of wine is awkward. So just embrace it, and it's probably not going to be as awkward on the outside as it feels on the inside. Just like on stage when there's a moment of silence and it's like, oh my god, I dropped a line, and the audience never knows because it was really like that, but it felt like 30 minutes, right? So wow, I'm glad you don't have to go back there. Now, knowing you and just how thoughtful of a person you are, which is the obvious progression from you, in addition to pursuing your career as a performer, also the natural progression of teaching and helping people, and your thoughtfulness and your mindfulness around things, which you can find reading his articles on BroadwayWorld.com. What is it that you can unpack that makes this horrific experience in reality that most of us live working in hospitality while auditioning, that makes it so mutually beneficial, that makes it just the continue, that all these years later we still, one of the best jobs an aspiring actor or an up and coming actor can have is to wait tables or bartend.
I fully agree. I fully agree. Um, yeah, I think that there is the obvious, which is, y- I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I think it depends on the restaurant that you're in, but I'm going to speak for at least like New York City. Like 80% of people who work there are artists. And this is serving specifically, you pretty much can always get your shift covered. You're
Mm-hmm.
pretty much starting at 3:30 or you're working weekends. Um, and it also can be a mindless job, but being an actor can't be mindless. It's so mindful that I actually looked at serving like a break from everything, and I kind of put myself on autopilot, and I decided
Hmm.
to have a sense of humor around serving, which then kind of made it fun for me.
Yeah.
Um, and also, I think serving is an unbelievable networking job. Like, I mean, I had I had a client who was working at a restaurant for a year, and somebody came in. They had a great time together, and then at the end, they were like, "Are you an actor?" My client said, "Yeah," and they're like, "Take my card. I'm in casting, and there's a role right now that I can't fill, and you just feel like you would be the right energy." And they booked it.
That's amazing. And it's true. You don't want to be, and just to add on to that,
Please.
you don't want to be the actor waiter that, like when I worked at Sardi's and people would like jump on like so and so sitting at this table. So you don't want to be too hungry. You want to be you because they're going to be more engaged with you and be like, hey, you got to make it other people's idea. Not like,
Mm.
oh yeah, you looking for something in your show? Like, no, they're not, and that's going to put you on a list of do not hire. What you want to do is make it somebody else's idea that like, you know what, we should have this and we should have that. Like I remember one of the networking things never panned out, but the idea that this person went out of their way for me working at Sardi's wearing that stupid red tux. Gregory Jbara came and saw me, not me, but one of my castmates when I was doing Jekyll and Hyde at the Westchester Broadway Theater. Came to see one of my castmates and was just so gracious and so lovely. He came backstage. He was so wonderful with everybody. And then a few weeks later, happened to be in Sardi's. And he was like, "You were in Jekyll and Hyde. I loved you." Da 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 da. Like, "Do you have an agent?" And I said, "I do not have an agent. I just got to New York City." And he's like, "And you already booked?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I was, I'm really lucky. And he's like, "Great. Here's my agent. Tell them I sent you." Blah 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 blah. No, actually, he gave me his email. So then I gave all my stuff to him, and then nothing happened. But he did follow up. He's like, "Hey, my agency already has a lot of people like you,
Mm.
which is why." But they said, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and da da da. And like, so it never panned out, but I'll never forget that. I will always speak of the wonders that is that man for doing things like that.
That's an unbelievable story about an unbelievable actor, and yeah, I mean, we're people as actors. Like,
Yeah.
even if we're a little more introverted, like we know what to do with people, we know how to connect in the room. So that's why I do think it's a great job for an actor to have. I also think that like it can always be a temporary job. It's not like
Hmm.
if you quit XYZ restaurant and then you want to get another restaurant job, like no one's making a phone call for a referral. You know what I mean? And so it's a luxurious field to be in because you can jump from restaurant to restaurant. Every restaurant wants you to have experience, so there you go.
Exactly. And it will always be there. It will always be there. And I thank my lucky stars that I've had, I'm ready to leave this industry, but I thank my lucky stars that good, bad, or ugly, I've had the experiences I've had. I've met the people I've met. And I have the skill set. A few weeks ago, we had Morgan Reynolds on the show, and they were talking about what they learned working in restaurants and working in these types of survival jobs has made them able to navigate corporate landscapes even better. It's made them more resilient, more reliable, more adaptable to the task at hand.
Yeah, I actually think it's made me a better actor.
Yeah.
Like I worked the restaurant that I worked in right before the pandemic. It was my favorite job, and we had no manager. We had nobody on the floor ever.
So every restaurant.
It was a shit show. It was a they fired somebody, then someone came in, then they quit. And for my 4 weeks there, never had anybody that we could go to, and there were two servers on the floor, and that's it. And your the quick impulses you need to have to make smart decisions so that you can still make money when the restaurant is on fire has completely helped me in the room and in my tapes and
Yeah.
me as an actor and coaching actors. It's a game of faking it till you make it,
Yeah.
but looking smart. And restaurants have taught me that.
Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere. Literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF Shift Podcast.com. All right, back to the show. Exactly, and that it's all made up. Like I always say, like because I mean, I not that I never get stressed out, and I'm the Buddha walking around the bar, just being like all Zen all the time. No, no, I get stressed out. But one of my things to where I remind myself, like, what does this situation and a kiddie pool have in common? Not that deep. It is not that deep. It's going to be over soon. It's going to be over soon, just like life. So just enjoy it and just let shit go. And it's easier said than done, but having that conversation with yourself, be like, is this really that deep? Or like a coworker one time gave me some really amazing advice. Like, you can never be in the weeds if you don't give a shit. It's like,
Mm.
wow, that's amazing. It's true. It's true. Now, I want to know, has there been, you talked about the incredible networking opportunity that this industry can be. And I know that you've interviewed some pretty amazing, accomplished celebrities like Sherry Lee Ralph, who is part of what romanticized this industry for me because growing up, I'm a little older than you. There was a show called It's a Living, which featured these, I think it was in Chicago, these women working in a restaurant in a high rise in Chicago in the 80s with like a sleazy piano player and all these things. And they would always gossip around the salad station while making the salads for their tables and this and that. And Sherry Lee Ralph, after she left Dreamgirls, went to Hollywood, got that role. I my gay heart would explode. I think there are people that if I met Whoopi Goldberg, if I met Sherry Lee Ralph, I would just be a mess. I wouldn't know how to handle it. So we'll talk. I want to talk about interviewing her, but have there been overlaps where like I've waited on this person, and now I'm working with this person, or now I'm interviewing this person? Have you had any experiences with that, or
That's a great question. Where have I worked in New York City? Boom, boom. Okay. Yes, but it wasn't in a restaurant.
hmm,
I was working front desk at a yoga studio, and Anne Hathaway came in. Like I looked up, and Anne Hathaway was standing right in front of me, and we were the only two people in the lobby, and that was, most people love Anne Hathaway because she's a Hollywood star. I love Anne Hathaway because she was Lillian Carnival at New York City Center in the 90s. Like that. So like my love for her starts even deeper than Princess
yeah,
Diaries or The Devil Wears Prada. And it is it is a moment where they say like don't meet your idols, and she's totally like a hero. Like she's someone that I really really like love and respect. Couldn't be nicer. Exactly what you think. She
oh,
introduced herself as Annie,
I
and I
love
got
that.
so nervous that I said, I'm Spency. Uh, and just to match her energy, um, that was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, there's been people that I looked up to that then I like got to cross over in theater with, which is that's where it's like this should be the space where I could be a musical theater nerd, but also we are in a work environment. Just like if I was waiting a table on somebody who has a celebrity, you're not going to make it seem like you know them, and you know what I mean. So it's a
Exactly.
fine line. It's a fine line.
Exactly. So now let's get back to the Sherry Lee Ralph of it,
Yeah.
because she's been doing this forever and has just consistently worked, and it just seems like every few years there's just like a renaissance. She has a resurgence with younger audiences, with newer audiences, with new projects, and right now it's in a place where she's just like her electricity that is her is just everywhere. So what was it like being able to sit down and speak to such a legend and be like, I fucking earned this. Like, this is amazing opportunity, but like, I've been doing enough things right. I've been working for the wrong families. I've been working for the wrong restaurants, but it all somehow led me here. What was that experience like?
Wow. No one's ever asked me that. I don't think that I've asked myself that.
Hmm.
I think this is important intel that I think that people will die for. So I had this interview show via Instagram. It was kind of during the pandemic, and it's through Broadway World, but I had to get the guests by myself.
Hmm.
So I would have to DM people, okay, and like essentially be like, will you do this for free? And will you even see my DM? And will you even respond? And you don't owe me anything. And I would do it on the Broadway World account. So it like wasn't from mine. So there's a little
Oh, that
more,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it was like a little more legitimacy. Cheryl, I DM'd Cheryl Lee Ralph. It wasn't like I went to her team. Like I literally DM'd her and she got back to me in 5 seconds. She was like, yeah, sure. When? And I was like, next week. And she was like, great. And then like she followed up the day before being like, looking forward to tomorrow, anything I should know. So I just first want to say, like, even before I spoke to her, I was like, oh, this is like somebody who was really human. Like, is not like really Cheryl is like she is like for the business. Like
Hmm.
she knows that she's Shirley Ralph, but she is here to help. She is here to serve, right?
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And yeah, it was unbelievable. When people say like I pinched myself, I had to pinch myself because I was like this for the first half, like this weird smile, and she's so composed. Um, and she was probably out of everybody that I've ever interviewed, and I've interviewed wonderful people, and it's been amazing conversations. But like, she really taught lessons in the
Yeah.
interview, and she talked a lot about waking up in the morning and that she says "I love you" to herself in the mirror every single morning. It wasn't. It was like an amazingly cool moment, and also it was just like an amazingly inspiring moment. And she took away my nerves, which was special.
Mm. Yeah. She put you at ease. That's
Yes,
wonderful.
and she didn't have to,
And
right?
not surprising at all.
No, at all. And also like down to go there. Like
Yeah.
she likes to go down memory lane. I think I prefaced to her, I think I said to her, like, we don't have to go too much into this. I know that this is like a big ass question. And she was like, no, let's talk about Dreamgirls. And like she wanted to go in and tell the smallest, coolest stories. She is she's on a different planet. We're very lucky.
Well, and I think she understands the impact. And, some people, I don't know how to phrase this. She understands the impact and is not afraid to appear, like everyone is like, you have to be humble. And it's like, you can be humble. And I also acknowledge the amazing shit you've done. In Dreamgirls, you go into any freaking gay bar in New York City that's having a musical Monday or Broadway this or Broadway that. When Dreamgirls comes on, the entire bar shuts down. How many drag queens do that as a lip sync? Like, and it's still, I watch it not every night, but I still, when I get off of work and I'm having my martini or my Manhattan, I end up down. I watch the Angela Lloyd Webber trio. I watch everything Maren Maisie. I watch Beverly Sills, and of course, I have to go to the Dreamgirls. I have to go to the Dreamgirls, and it's like I've seen it how many times. And Nell Carter. I have a YouTube Nell Carter rabbit hole I go down to. Like just these amazing human beings. So like she understands the impact and really wants to be like, here you go, kids. Here's a little more information you may not have known, and that's absolutely wonderful. Now I mentioned a martini. Shift's over. Sorry for this weird shift. Shift is over. You've had a crazy night. You've had a wonderful night. You've made so much money. You're coming home. You're putting your feet up. You're pouring something in the glass. What are you, Spencer, making for yourself?
Hmm. I'm probably making a dirty martini.
Mm.
That's probably what I'm making. And I would always have pizza,
Mm.
like every shift. Like I would always pick up pizza, a dirty martini, um, or like I feel like servers just like really forget to hydrate. Um, I feel like I would bask in water.
Yeah. That's something when I get off of work and it's like, okay, slow down on that martini. You need to get water, like because your body's like just chugging it because it needs liquid, and this is not the liquid it needs. So like I mentioned in the last episode that like I'm running around telling everyone to drink water because we're experiencing what feels like New York weather out here in LA, which is really annoying because I left that all behind. But I literally had to put salt and lime juice into a giant deli and chug three of those because it's like I am actively dehydrating. But I want to give you a tip for your dirty martini, unsolicited. Unsolicited.
Yes.
This is because Trader Joe's, like literally at the place I work at now, which has amazing food, and a lot of the plates, a lot of our cocktails. I always tell people like, if you really love this, like we have a carrot margarita, and like everything you need is at Trader Joe's. Everything. So I'm like, I've always loved Trader Joe's, but like now I am a Trader Joe's like give me a Stanley Cup and Uggs and let me go through Trader Joe's, talking on the phone really loud in front of everyone else. Like, let me be that girly. Go to Trader Joe's. You can't do this in New York. You can't get the Trader Joe's vodka, which I'm sorry. But you can get their lemon stuffed. Uh, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm taking notes.
Oh, I thought
I'm literally so far I have down TJ's vodka, go to LA. Now I have lemon stuffed.
lemon stuffed olives. So it's the brine has it's preserved lemons stuffed in the olives, and so then there's this citrus infusion into the olive brine. You use that brine to make your dirty martini and the olives to make it even better. It is my new, like, if I were to make my personality around it, I would be happy. And everyone knows me for margaritas, but like this lemon dirty martini is like my favorite thing on earth right now, besides my fiance and dog.
What? You're engaged?
I'm engaged.
Congratulations, Mazel
Thank
Tov. That's
you.
amazing.
As are you.
Oh my God, I am engaged. I'm married 2 years.
Oh shit!
I no,
Congratulations.
no, I was like, yes, make me feel a little younger and that it's 2021. No, I didn't know that. That's so
Thank you,
beautiful.
thank you. We
What do
we've
you
kind of
think
been
your drink's gonna be at your wedding? Like you know how you can like have like two drinks at a wedding?
I definitely a margarita.
Okay.
Definitely a margarita. And I feel like something bourbony or an espresso martini. So we went to uh, a wedding in Texas almost 2 years ago in Austin, and it was phenomenal. And they're like, we walked in, we like they took us like 45 minutes outside of Austin, which being gay and on a bus in the middle of nowhere in Texas is a little scary. But the venue was absolutely amazing. We walk in and it's just like we're greeted with champagne. Then there was a signature old fashioned and a signature margarita. Then throughout the night, instead of doing like a champagne like tower, they did an espresso martini tower. So it's like we have nothing but options. And recently his cousin got married and we saw how they did their wedding, and they had a bar team that was just like, you just supply the alcohol, we'll supply the juice and all the rest. And so it's like, well, if we're looking to save some money, we can, because again, you can't do this in New York, but in California, you can go to Costco and get a liter and a half of vodka that's most likely Grey Goose for $15. So it's like maybe we might go down that path and do that. I just have to like take on what I need to take on and not try to do everything myself. We don't need to like I don't need to make the cocktails the night before the wedding. I don't need to like all these things. But as a bartender and I love entertaining, I just have to. So yeah, we're not quite sure, but it'll definitely be a margarita of some sort, maybe a sangria because it's just those things are easy to have a nice batch of.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, we did a slow rollout with our engagement because it happened in the middle. He was in a 6 month strike at work. And so I was like,
mm,
oh, so he's like, I can't handle the attention right now. And I was like, you got it. So we did all of our family first and then kind of just like talking about it. And people are like, wait, you're engaged? I'm like, and it's kind of nice because I mean, you see me on social media and I read the phone book to everyone like, today I did this. And I'm a bit of an oversharer. So it's this nice, like it's interesting to kind of sit back with it a little more and have it be a little more personal.
mm.
So yeah, that's why I'm just kind of like sprinkling it out there. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for
Yeah,
the TJ's Dirty Martini secret. How lucky am I?
of course, of course. Now I have one more thing I want to ask you before we get to you, the artist, and I want to make sure. Oh yeah, we're gonna. No, we're gonna skip this. I don't need to know that. You can come back and talk about it later. Let's talk about you, the actor, and also talking about the amazing things. You are a musical theater nerd that goes and sees Annie Hathaway at New York City Center, and then you're working at New York City Center. What is that first full circle like for you?
Cool, because it all happened quickly and I didn't even there's so many times in New York where you don't really quite know what you're auditioning for, and I was, prior to opening a business, I was working six jobs. Like,
Mm,
consistently for like 10 years in New York, I worked six jobs around the clock. And
yeah.
so, sometimes you're like barely making it to your auditions. But I auditioned for this new work that then was like, oh, it didn't, I didn't read the breakdown. That's actually what happened. I didn't read anything. It was a casting director that really knew my work. They called me last minute. I went in and they were like, yeah, we're going to be doing this at New York City Center. It's the, so there's New York City Center Stage 1, which is where like Carnival was. And then there's New York City Center Stage 2, which is in the building, but it's
Mm.
almost this like cooler, like it's like a cool, smaller off Broadway type house. And
Oh
it was,
yes, in the
yes,
basement. Yeah, right.
I'm sorry.
In the basement
Yes.
ish.
Yes. Yes. It was in the basement. And crazy. I got my first New York Times review. And it happened all so fast. And the cast was insane. Like the cast
Yeah.
was truly insane. It was the writers of How to Dance in Ohio who wrote it.
Mhm.
They're amazing people. It was the best ever, directed by Stephen Brackett. I mean, yeah, cool and like cool to. There's something I know that you know this, but on like in the New York City Center area, there's like Six and a Half Street. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It's like Six and a Half. Yeah, like I grew up seeing that, and then like that was like my stage door every day. It was really cool. It really was.
Did you ever go down the street to Pazzanote?
Is that a bigger? Is it kind of bigger the restaurant?
It's a pretty big restaurant, and I only bring it up because they have a happy hour, a martini happy hour. Just so you know, 2 for 1 martinis, but you get both at the same time. That's part of the deal. So it's like 2 for 1 martinis. You get both at the same time. So make sure you get a glass of ice on the side to keep that other one chilled.
Yeah.
It's in Pazzanotte translates to crazy night, and when you have a happy hour martini, the restaurant is aptly named. So fix that next time you're in the area. Probably not before you see a show. Yeah, I got you. I
Thank
got you.
you.
Now, again, knowing that I want to make sure you're not late to your next appointment, I want to talk about the transition because if you want to know more about Spencer, the actor, there's a website that you can go to and you can listen to him sing "I Cannot Hear the City" on repeat all day. Um, just so go do that. But I want to talk about the shift into not working 6 jobs, into pursuing your career full time and also helping other people to pursue. Where did Spencer the teacher come from?
Family. I think first my family grew up on the business side of Broadway, so I watched my family work in marketing and publicity for Broadway, and like I was hanging with Rebecca Luker and speaking of Nell Carter. My family worked on the Nell Carter production of Annie, where she was Miss Hannigan. I came from this like very businessy family, um, and then my dad actually retired from. He had a job on Wall Street, retired, became a teacher. My mom's been a teacher for 35 years. So like the combination of like family teaching, corporate, like everything has always made sense to me. Um, I was auditioning for many, many years, and then right before the pandemic, I kind of got tired of like
Yeah,
answering a lot of questions on people's career questions. And I was like, maybe I just start a business. Like,
yeah,
no one's done this yet. Like, is it a career coaching business? I don't know. I'm just going to help actors. Like, my business is just like, I'm just going to help you. Like, you come to me, and if I can help you, great. And if I can't, I'll tell you. And then world shut down. I got my master's. I became a full time teacher. Um, it wasn't the experience I thought it was going to be at the moment. And then in 2023, I was like, wait, my coaching business, let me take this more seriously. And I went full time and I got really lucky. And it just comes naturally to cheer people on. I like watching people who are happy. I like watching people discover a different level of themselves. I
yeah,
like giving people tough love and in a safe space. And I know how damn hard it is to be an actor. And I don't
yeah.
feel like we have enough mentorship in this business. I feel like it's like flick, go off, figure it out. You have all this talent, but like, what is the strategy? So that is really what I wanted to give actors.
Yeah, and and it's not news. We talk about this quite a bit amongst each other and this and that. Like we never learned this in our conservatory. We never learned this, and it's true. And there is a missed opportunity. But I also think it's like there's only so much that somebody in Sunnyside, Ohio, or somebody in Irvine, California, can teach you about the business because maybe they went to New York for a handful of years back in the 80s, or maybe they went, for 2 weeks in the 90s, or maybe the business is ever changing and evolving, and there's only so much they can teach you. So what they can teach you before we get to the business is how to read music, is how to sustain, is your breath, is making choices. So they can do that acting and singing stuff, the technique that you need, and then you get out of in your continuing education is finding someone like Spencer Glass to be like, cool, I can work a monologue with you, but I can also help you learn to work a room and how to start an email dialogue, and don't just randomly send, because when I got there it was all about postcards. I'm not sure if you remember postcards, but it was like after every audition, and I was like, every single fucking EPA I was sending a postcard with this mug on it, and it's just like, that's kind of weird. Like, Caesar doesn't need to get a 50th one this week, Rachel doesn't need to get another postcard with my face on it, and like, it's a bit much. So there's better ways to navigate this business. So I'm going to ask for a freebie for our listeners, so they can kind of get a taste of what you have to offer. What is something you start off with your students to help them navigate, like I said, a business mind with an artist heart? How do you, if someone says like, "Ah, my restaurant job is killing me, this in my personal life is killing me, blah blah blah," and like, how do you help them protect their heart as an artist while also not blocking off, but setting up boundaries and dealing with the outside influences separately from what the task at hand, which is booking this job, or not even booking the job, just getting seen? What is something you would say if someone came back to you with like, I don't know if I can audition, I have X, Y, and Z going on in my life?
Yeah. I think the first thing I would ask them is, and the first thing I would say is that's incredibly understandable, and this is going to happen again. Like at some point, this
Mm,
feeling and this kind of chaos is going to happen again. I think that you mentioned the term Tasmanian devil,
yeah.
like the road runner of it all. Like we're going to feel that way a lot. And so that means like you have to scale back because you want to protect your energy both in your survival job and also as an actor. And
Yeah.
in scaling back, that means that you need to become more audacious. So you're not going to fully stop auditioning. You're coming to me because you don't want to fully stop auditioning. And so in being audacious, then I want to know, well, who are three people that right now it's an objective for you to be on their radar? Because then if we need to scale back, then you got to be more audacious with which EPAs or ECCs or open calls you're going to, or classes that you are taking. And why don't we gear this down to three people? And for this next 6 to 8 months, your goal is not to book a job. Your goal is to pay your bills and to make three brand new relationships.
Mm,
And then that is going to force you as an actor, because most of the time people are like, I don't even know creatives in this business. I just know that I'm like an auditioning actor, and that's not enough. So this forces somebody to do more academic work than physical work, than being out on the field. It forces them to like understand who their contacts are, who are associated with projects that they want to be part of in the future. It's like a very academic side of this, which I like to say. Um, and it's actually this kind of scaling back that makes you a business person, and that makes it a little easier to conduct your life. You're not as tired. You're not like pounding the pavement at
yeah.
auditions and like trying to be seen here and here and here and then going to your work. Like there's backstage work that you could be doing as an actor. And I
Yeah.
really inspire people to do that because it's a relationship business. It's not just walking in the room and then walking out.
Exactly. That, I mean, that was quite the freebie. So where can people find, I mean, other than they can, how often do you write for Broadway World? It's a weekly or biweekly?
No, I write monthly.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we go.
monthly.
That's amazing. So you can check out his articles there. You can check out his content. How can people follow you and cheer you on, but also find out like, hey, I need this help, and see all that you have to offer as a coach?
Yeah, I have all of my actor tips, all of my artist wisdom is on my Instagram, which is Hi Spencer Glass, Hi Spencer Glass, and then I'm just Spencer Glass on TikTok, and that's where you can find not only content but also like a lot of people will be like, "How do I book a coaching with you?" That's where I put like, I have a group session coming up. If you want to be with other actors and you want to watch me coach other actors and coach other actors on their career while getting your coaching, I put my slots on my Instagram all the time. My calendar is there. um, Social media is very, very much where you can get it all.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now, before I let you go, is there anything else you want to say to kind of promote your business or promote your brand? Or we think we
That's so
covered
sweet.
it?
That's so sweet. I think we covered it. SpencerGlass.com is where you can watch me sing from Sweet Smell of Success, and you can
There we
also
go.
learn about all of my coaching services. Um, And yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you amplifying like just my artistry right now. And this was really, really wonderful, Sean. Thank you. Like
Oh,
really
thank
great.
you so much. I mean, it's such an honor, especially, seeing your content and experiencing it and benefiting from it. Because I mentioned a few weeks ago, I was about to skip an audition and I was like, I'm never gonna, blah, 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 blah. And I went to the audition, didn't book the job, but had a fucking amazing time and made a connection with that director and showed good face for my agency. So I was like, there's a win. And that's so people know it's not just about booking. The content that Spencer's sharing and the advice that he's dropping is about the next step, just building it. And before you know it, the house will be built step by step. And there you go. But you have to make sure you're covering all your bases. And sometimes your base is just having a good audition, regardless of the outcome. So before I let you go, the one last thing, we know very well in our industry, on stage and in restaurants, how quickly bad news travels and bad reviews see the light of day. And the good things are rarely discussed and celebrated. So that's why I like to go out of my way when I have a good experience, when I have a good time, when I have a coworker who's really stepping up, and let the people who need to know the good thing that's going on in their restaurant. Who is somebody in your life that has made a tough shift easier for you? And you just like to give them a quick shout out today.
Wow. Yeah. I actually was thinking about this while we were talking. The restaurant that I was fired from for cutting my finger open on a bottle of wine, there was a woman that I trained with. I believe her name was Miriam.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe that she was in grad school, not an actor. She was so kind to me for the 2 weeks of training. She was so kind in a crazy restaurant. She did not give a fuck. She would not go over to a table that she was working on because she was like, "They can wait. That's okay. What do you need right now? Okay, you seem a little anxious right now. That really, really, really makes sense. Why don't we think about this, this, and this? And why don't you just follow me?" She was the epitome of not only a capable server, but also just a shining human. And
Yeah.
I actually went back to the restaurant to eat years later. Don't ask me why. It was new management, it was new ownership. And I saw her and I went up to go say something and then she was gone. And I literally looked around the restaurant and she was gone. And I never got to say that. So thanks for letting me have that space. She was amazing. Thank you, Miriam.
Ah, well, there you go, Miriam. Thank you for everything that you do. Clearly, the world needs more people like you, and we are so grateful that you exist. This has been another episode of Tough Shift. And just remember that tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.